Music for this episode of About to Break is provided by Cat Beach Music. Whether you're looking to score an entire film or just need to find the perfect vibe for your next commercial project, our friends Bobby and Jen Hartree have what you're looking for. Check them out today at catbeachmusic.com. I am so excited about this week's guest that I do not want to take too long to get into it. I just want to let you know about a few dates we have coming up that I'm really excited about. Next Wednesday, February 21st, I will be at the Paris Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas, Nevada. 7 o'clock show. You can get tickets to that or more information by clicking the link here in the show notes. And I hope to see some of you guys there. And then on Tuesday, February 27th, we're doing our first About to Break live in Hollywood. That's right, folks. We're doing a monthly live show where I'm bringing just some wonderful friends who are entertainers to perform and to talk about their art and some of the challenges that they're dealing with and some tips and things that could maybe help you in your life. So I know you'll be encouraged. Come check us out. February 27th, that is at the Clubhouse Theater in Hollywood. And again, you can click here on the link in the show notes. And the best part about that show is it's free. It's absolutely free. It doesn't cost you anything. So please make plans to come on out. I would love to see you there. And I can't wait to talk to you guys about all the cool stuff we've got going on with the podcast. But enough chatting. Let's get into this show. So I just went and asked Katie if she would do this intro with me because I'm really struggling finding the words to describe why this episode's so important to me.
Yeah.
We had a time a few years ago, and we talked about this a little bit on the episode we did recently, but we both grew up in Christian households and going to church, and that was like such a huge part of our life and our existence. And then a few years ago, I think we both got real disillusioned with not necessarily Jesus or his teachings, but what people are doing with that today.
Yeah.
Then we read this book by Bob Goff called Love Does.
It was super encouraging for us at a time when we needed it.
Yeah, it was just like good to see somebody who's living today, not in a way that's like just bringing attention to yourself. See, I told you it's so hard. Why is this so hard for me?
Because it was a hard time in your life and it's hard to put it into words.
There's those moments in life where you're going through something and you don't know if you're going to make it. And then someone you don't even know like speaks into your life.
Yeah.
Like they share something and it's so encouraging and you're just like, oh my goodness, the fact that this person, this unicorn-like amazing person exists in the world, it gives me hope.
Yes.
Right? And that's what Bob Goff did for me when I read his book.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And through some miracle, I ended up meeting him and becoming friends.
Yeah.
And he's doing this podcast, Kate.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's amazing.
It's wonderful. And this conversation is so fun, and I talk very little because I just want to soak up the goodness that is Bob Goff, and I know people are going to be encouraged.
Something I remember you saying a while ago is how you read about these people and they encourage you so much, like Bob Goff, during a time where you were struggling, and you hope and pray that they're as cool and genuine as you think they are.
Yes.
And I remember you being nervous when you met him.
I told Bob, like the third time we met, I said, Bob, I got to confess something to you. I've been avoiding getting close to you because I don't want to be disappointed again.
Yeah.
And I know that's not right to put on somebody. Like, it's not up to him or anyone else to bring me joy or happiness.
No.
But I just love the genuine love that this man exudes to the world.
Yeah.
And so even though this is not a podcast necessarily about faith or spirituality or your belief in God or your not belief in God, wherever you're at, whatever you believe, I fully know you're going to be encouraged by who he is. Yeah. And so, I introduce him.
This is Bob Goff.
No, I'm not a writer.
Okay.
Something is about to break.
It's Mr. Bob Goff.
Hey, Taylor, thanks for letting me hang out today. You got to let everybody know we're sitting in South Carolina.
We are.
It's raining, and there's a sign right in front of us that says, please do not feed or disturb the alligators. And what was the first thing we thought?
Well, the best part was it says no swimming after that.
Yeah, well, I just assumed, when I read the first part, I'm like,
oh, yeah, let's go catch an alligator. Yeah. We're looking for raw meat to see if we can find anything that could possibly be a bait for an alligator.
Yeah, but what a great place. So we both live in California. I think it rained in 1972.
Yeah.
So this is great. Seeing this waterfall from the sky, I'm in.
Well, Bob, this is a little podcast idea. We talk about the ups and downs of life, being a creative person, trying to pay the bills. And I call it about to break because sometimes you're this close to a breakthrough, it feels like, and sometimes you're this close to having a breakdown. And
yes, I know I'm trying on purpose to be downwardly mobile. I'm trying, I quit my law firm. I did this stuff because I had all these options. Yeah. And the options sometimes confuse people. You just look ahead. So that idea, I know when you're trying to make rent, you're like, I'm just so tired of being desperate. But that's actually where people find their greatest creativity. Because comfortable people aren't creative, it seems like. But desperate people that are actually doing it. But you want to be desperate for the right stuff.
What does that look like for you to be desperate for the right stuff?
Well, faith is a really big deal for me. So that's one of the things I'm constantly thinking about. But I would say for those listeners, whether faith is a big deal for them or not a big deal at all, to find things that are going to actually last in your life and the lives of the people that you love. So you could be desperate for a big raise if you're in a corporate position, but is that actually going to enhance the lives of the people? And so you would say, well, yeah, of course, because we can get a better house and we can get a car, not the bus and all that. And those are all like really beautiful, noble things. But sometimes I would say, and it's not just men, but as a man, I would say I spent so much time trying to provide for my family that I realized at one point I wasn't providing for my family.
Yeah.
And so that would be one of the things that when you're desperate to replace, will it work with the question, will it last?
Oh, I love that. We have a friend and she had a big high-powered corporate job and she just said, you know what? I want to cook hamburgers. She loved cooking hamburgers and loved serving people and making them food. So she quit her corporate job, bought this little burger shack in our neighborhood, and now she makes like the best burgers I've ever had and just talks to people all day and loves life.
Yes. And so you find that. And so this idea of having fewer options and then just chilling out in this airport that we both flew into to get here, it's where they actually make Gulf Streams. Did you know that?
I didn't know.
They manufacture them, they design them, they produce. But I've noticed on these big corporate jets, the private jets, the only person that's not wearing a suit is the guy that owns it. And so I think I'm noticing that there's a way, instead of striving to become someone you aren't, what if you say the highest kind of call for each of us to be the most authentic and humblest version of who God made us to be?
That's huge, especially when you're talking about in the entertainment business where everyone's trying to present themselves as something that they aren't yet.
Yes, and you aspire to be like, I aspire to be a much kinder person than I already am. Yeah. Well, what can happen if you're in front of enough people for long enough, you'll get yourself convinced that you've already arrived, that you're actually as kind as you wish you would be someday.
Yeah.
And just getting real, but you don't have to beat yourself up. That's one other thing that I think people that are in front of a lot of people do. It's what makes for great country western lyrics. But this on the Enneagram scale, it's always a number 4.
Yep.
They're just like the tortured poet with tons of drama. And again, it makes great lyrics, but it makes for a lousy life.
Yeah.
And so to not beat yourself up along the way, to just say, I'm as far as I am. I have a beautiful ambition in front of me. I'm not quite there yet. And just keep it real. I'm just going to continue to move in that direction. But we keep thinking that you're going to get dropped on you, whether you think it's from the heavenlies or a note in a bottle that we're going to get an address.
Yeah.
And I think my experience, God gives us a direction.
Yeah.
I've just never gotten a note in the bottle. I've never gotten when people say, I was called to do this or I was called to do that.
Yeah.
I get 100 phone calls a day. For the people that don't know me, I put my phone number in the
In your
back
book.
of 1.5 million copies of a book. And so I get all these calls. So I know what a call is.
Yeah.
But I don't need a call. I have a direction.
Yeah.
And I'm moving toward being the most authentic version of who I actually am turning into. Don't get ahead of myself, but don't get behind yourself either. I think entertainers sometimes spend a lot of time looking in the rearview mirror.
Yep.
The last show, the last review, the last Amazon star they got or didn't get.
Right.
Every time I look at my rearview mirror, I think to myself, that's for combing your hair. I'm looking forward. So
Right.
like, what's next? And I've had times. Oh, I remember being in the Deep South a bunch of years ago, and I called Sweet Maria Goff, my wife of 33 years, and she said, "Honey, how did it go?" And I said, "I think it went great," because a woman came up to me afterwards and she said, "Bless your heart." She's like, "Oh, honey, you just got shanked." Like, that isn't good. So part of being an authentic version of you is actually meaning what you say.
Right.
And one of the things that can give you whiplash as an entertainer is you don't actually mean these things you're saying.
Right.
And so then you carry that into your personal life and you wonder why your relationships are either really shallow or very backwards. And it's because you've gotten trained to say, bless your heart. To say things for a laugh. And I feel like this idea, if you're doing what you're doing for applause, then join the circus.
Yeah.
But if you're doing it because it's driven by your faith in humanity, your faith in God, whatever it is, but if it's driven by the right things, then you're not going to be looking for the approval of other people.
Yeah.
It's great feedback to say what works and doesn't work, but getting feedback is different than seeking approval.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have a friend who's a comedian, and he shared something with me one time. It just totally clicked for me. He said, stop trying to get a response and go out there to try to give something to someone.
Yes.
Well
said.
As an entertainer, you're not trying to create your art so that people go, wow, you're great. You're trying to make the world better by giving them an experience that maybe they couldn't have without that film or that song. And it makes a difference.
Yes. If you just kind of boil it down to, we don't need slogans to summarize our life. We don't need little elevator speeches or mission statements. They're fine. If that blows your hair back, go for it.
Yeah.
But this idea, you could have this enduring truth in your life. For me, one that makes sense is this idea of loving God with your heart and soul and mind, and then loving your neighbor like yourself. And it's easy to dismiss that because it's so retread. I mean, you've heard it 1,000 times. But what if you just said, I'm actually going to try to love God. And then when it comes to the neighbor part, just actually try to help out.
Yeah.
There's a neighbor of mine that started this great big restaurant chain all over the U.S. I know you've gone to a prom in high school and gone to one of his restaurants.
Yeah.
You know what he has been doing for 20 years? He takes out my garbage. Not just mine. He takes out the garbage of every single person on our block.
No way.
Yeah. And he's never made a big deal about it. He does that because he loves serving people.
Yeah.
And there's something beautiful. I mean, he could be like one of these guys that buys the Gulf Stream. Instead, he just takes people's garbage out. And you know what else? He puts the cans away afterwards. Like, there's something beautiful. You want to live a beautiful life. You'll be known for these beautiful, extravagant acts of love, because every act of selfless love is like a declaration of faith. It's like, that's what I actually believe my life is about.
When I read your first book, Love Does, it messed me up, man, because not because I had never been around church. I grew up in church my entire life. You know, I was the kid who was like born on a Tuesday, on Sunday I was in the pew, right? But for me, it was so wild to read in your book and then to meet you and to experience someone who wasn't just talking about, wouldn't it be great if we did these things, but had a philosophy of like, let's just go do the stuff now. Like, let's not talk about the good we could do. Let's actually do some good right now for people.
And give it a try. I mean, this underlying idea that you'd fail trying rather than fail watching. There's a people group in the Western Desert in Somalia. They're isolated by Al Qaeda's arm in Somalia. It's called Al Shabaab, and they're completely isolated. They've done a 14-mile radius around where these tens of thousands of people are, and they won't let any food in or out on these trucks. They're just starving them to death.
Oh, wow.
And somehow we heard about this thing, and we've been giving all the money from the book away anyway.
Yeah.
So we chartered a cargo plane. Who knew? I didn't even know you could charter one. So we chartered one. We filled it up with food in Kenya, and we flew it right over these guys' heads and landed on the sand.
That's incredible.
I won't tell you what I was doing out the window as we passed them, but it was just like that beautiful idea of like to just try stuff. You see a need, meet a need. And here's the deal.
Yeah.
God isn't dazzled when we go across an ocean. He's wowed when we go across the street.
Yeah.
When we go across the campus, when you go to somebody that is in your industry with you and they've just actually been kind of like chafing at you a little bit, and just do something kind. Not looking for validation, not looking for anything, but to just say, I want to actually do some of this stuff that God said would be really important to him to do. And so even if faith doesn't drive your decisions, it's a pretty good idea.
Yeah, regardless of your...
Good ideas are good ideas. Some people dismiss it because somebody who isn't a faith leader said it. No, like truth is truth. Just say things that are true.
Gosh, man. That's so good, Bob.
So one of the things that we don't need to like check all the return addresses to just say, is that true? Does that fit my worldview? And if it doesn't, then they don't need to go in the category of people you're not going to spend time with.
Right.
But to just say they're just delightfully different. This whole idea of being one. That was like, it's a concept that comes from Jesus kind of talking to his dad. He said that we know all about this thing that you and I have going on by seeing, people would see the way we were one together.
Yeah.
But oneness doesn't mean sameness. Oneness means like we're together. And I would say to your crew in particular that would be entertainers, and you're always the outliers. You're the ones that are looking back towards society and saying that, and so you can feel tremendously isolated in that. And so just delight in the fact that you have a different perspective, but don't give in to having a lot of drama and chaos in your life, because what makes for a great TV show will make for a lousy life.
Oh, that's so good.
One of the things that for Marie and I in our marriage, we haven't like argued or raised our voices in the 35 years I've been in love with her, the 33 she's been in love with me back. And it's a target rich environment for her. She could, I give her all kinds of reasons to do that, but we just decided that we're not at war. We're in love. And we remind ourselves of that. And so you get to decide in your relationships, are they going to be peppered with a lot of acrimony, or are you just going to let things like say, that's not apathy. That's 100% engagement. That's what it takes to get there. Yeah. And that's evidence of people who are working real hard.
Right.
Yeah.
It takes being present. I think that so often we get caught up in this trap of always wanting to be somewhere we're not. Whether it's as an entertainer, you want to be further along than you are, or just in life, you're looking at everyone else's Facebook and going, I want to be there instead of where I'm at right now.
Yes, there's always a picture of a friend, and that friend is like ice climbing or something in the Matterhorn.
Right.
Like inverted in whole way while he's going. And then you're just taking out the garbage.
Right.
And you're doing something mundane like edging the lawn.
Right.
And you just feel like, wow, am I living somebody else's life? And I think just to speak these truths over yourself, to say, I want to be 100% me.
Yes.
I just want to be who I am, where I am.
Right.
And that doesn't mean it's a lack of ambition. It's actually your biggest ambition is to be authentically you.
Yes. And to realize that, like, in your mundane, what seems like mundane, amazing things can happen if you're just present and open to people and loving. Like, that's love does blew my mind, because every story starts off as like a normal story and ends as some insane thing just because you were aware of the people you were with and you were present and you were acting out of love and wanted your faith to guide you. And
Part of this, too, is a decision to live a noteworthy life. Not noteworthy so that other people will talk about you, but just so engaged in your life and your conversations that you're taking notes. Even now, if we were videotaping this, you'd see I've got a piece of paper in front of me and a pen, and I'll just write down a word. Apathy / engagement. And I just want to circle back to that. Some people in various faith traditions, they have things called quiet times. I guess that's in the morning. You just set aside. I haven't had a quiet time in 20 years. Mine are really loud. What I'll do is I'll take all the notes I've made from the day before. And I'll just try to tease them out. And I'll try to do this thing. There was a guy named Paul, and he said, just check everything against what scripture says. And so I'm not doing that to be Jesus's lawyer. I just want to know, is there any truth in this that I can learn a little bit more? Can I go a little bit more deeper in my faith and my kindness, my compassion? Can I get that phrase just a little bit more pointed? Not for somebody else. I'm not trying to make posters. I want to make a difference in my life. I want to move from what a swell idea, because if we're engaged and we're taking these notes, we'll lead more purposeful lives. I spoke to a guy, for some reason, I haven't thought about this in 15 years, but there's a guy who invited me to lunch, and he's the head of this big thing now. And so while we were talking, he's taking notes the whole time. And I thought that was great. We had a terrific lunch. There was about 4 or 5 people there. And when we were all done, I asked him, when everybody had left, I said, I'm just curious, like, what did you find most noteworthy?
Because he's jotting down the whole time.
Because I was just wondering, maybe somebody said something and I missed it. And he looked kind of surprised, and he said, this might seem a little bit weird, but for the last, I bet since I was 12, every time I meet with people, I write down what they ate.
What? No way.
There was this amazing conversation happening, and he's writing down broccoli, peas,
club sandwich.
And again, whatever lights you up, go for it. But I was thinking, and he's actually kept all this. And so one of the things that I want to do, I don't care what everybody's eating. For me, it'd be like Pop-Tarts, Snickers bars. But I want to remember what's said so I could loop back to that. And it's not a big mystical thing, but like kind of the Spirit of God moves through people. We keep praying these prayers and hoping that God will do something mystical, and he keeps sending us friends that say beautiful things. Well, don't let your conversation end with somebody asking you later, how was your discussion? And if you just say swell and that was it, that's a failure. It can be. It's a great way to, pass some time. But I don't know. Do you want to pass time or you want to grow? And I'm just committed. I just want to grow. And many people have the ability to remember this stuff. And so, like, whatever works. But I would just do whatever's working. And if it's not working, try something new.
I love that idea of self-auditing too, to think about what happened that day or the day before, and not just let it pass by you, but to really reflect on it, and I like that you said tease it out, like to figure out, what are you going to hang on to from the day before, and what are you going to apply? And
the craziest things will come to mind. You'll remember you shoved a nickel up your nose for no particular reason. And you're the guy that could turn it into $20 bills, But for these little things, I don't know how, a synapse happens in our mind, but you'll have this random, seemingly thought, and it to the conversation, it indeed is random. But I would write it down and say, that nickel thing. My kid swallowed a quarter when they were like about 5 or something. No. And we felt like such negligent parents. How could we? And then we were thinking about how nasty that quarter must have, like just nasty stuff. So we went into the doctor and we were saying, we asked him, because we were really kind of freaked out as parents. And he said, what's going to happen next? And he came back because he just was kind. And he says, he's probably going to make change. And there's something that was just a kind word from the right person.
That you needed at that moment.
We're the right people all the time. A kind word to a distressed parent that think they just were neglectful to the kid to say, like, look for about 5 nickels.
Yeah.
And there's something beautiful that comes from that. I want to be the person that speaks more kind words, less words of judgment. And I learned this the hard way. I was speaking at a gathering. There were all these youth pastors, thousands of these guys. And I really wanted to spend my time at home with Maria that night, but this gathering is like a mile from the house. So I said, okay, I'm going over 45 minutes and then I'm out of here.
Yeah.
So I said whatever I was going to say. I walk off and there's these 2 young bucks. They're in my face and they say, like, God doesn't like these people. I'm like, I don't know, man. All I want to do is go home. Hang out with my wife and touch knees. Yeah. And I tried to get around them and they blocked my path.
What?
And I was like, there were so many different alternate endings I could have had for this, but I actually called them a body part.
Yeah.
And I felt so bad.
Yeah.
And I nailed the anatomy, but I missed, the spirit of kindness, the spirit of Jesus and the whole thing. And I went out to my car and I was, those times where you feel like you're a little further along than you actually are.
Yeah.
And so I had a conversation with myself, and I can do a little banking on my iPhone.
Yeah.
And from that evening forward to today, every time I say a cross or mean-spirited word, I give away $500 per word.
Oh, wow.
And these days, I only say what I can afford.
Yeah.
I'm like, when I'm ready to like jump on somebody, I'm a trial lawyer. I mean, all these things come to mind. I just like, before I say it, I'm like, nah, I'm going to Maui. So what if you do just realize how costly our words are? These words of criticism. We think we're being funny, but at somebody's expense. I would just turn down the squelch on that a little bit. Just say that. Is that going to, there's just so many ways that people that are funny can do what they do without making somebody feel small.
Yeah.
And I made these guys feel small. You know what I should have done?
What's that?
I should have said, just tell me one Bible verse. I don't want to hear 20.
Right.
Just tell me one verse that helped you come to that conclusion. Don't tell me what you think it means. Tell me what it is.
Right.
And I've never heard one verse out of the Bible I didn't agree with. There's plenty I haven't applied to my life yet.
Right.
But just to say, instead of making it about me, I should have made it about God. And so just do that. Just realize as you meet people and they're kind of wonky, they're just on a different part of the path. I don't know if they're ahead of me or behind me, but just chill out.
I've been challenged lately with that, with the idea of not measuring where someone else is at because of where I'm at.
Oh yeah.
Even in mindset, like, there's things that now I try to not do that years ago I did, and not being judgmental of people who still have certain mindsets that I would now consider unloving or inappropriate, or it's so hard to do sometimes.
I get it. And if you think you're the sheriff, which it's easy for me and quite a few people to do, then you fall into that. But if you think you're just a participant, and it's not that we're going to the lowest common denominator. What I'm doing is I'm not measuring my response based on where they happen to be right now. Yeah. I'm just measuring my response about where I'm trying to move in my life. And I'm not trying to be Jesus's lawyer anymore. Yeah. Number one, he doesn't need one. And most of the people that try to aren't very good at it. Yeah. So just don't be loose on your doctrine. But I couldn't have the most orthodox doctrine available, and it's this: it's to love everybody always. Yes. So just keep doing that, and not just the ones that are the nice people, because that's like low-hanging fruit. Because there's a lot of nice people that make me feel like I'm a boss in loving people, and it's just because they're really nice. Find somebody, you want a report card on your faith, find somebody you really disagree with and see how you're treating them. Yeah. Are you treating them with the kind of respect that you'd like to be treated with? Are you doing, it's just another riff on loving your neighbor. Because some of our neighbors are weird.
Yeah, yes, they are.
Because I'm somebody's
someone's
neighbor.
Weird neighbor.
And I'm that guy.
Has your expression of your faith always looked like this? I know we're always growing, but like this outlook, I know for some listening that maybe this viewpoint of someone who's following Christ is very different than they've experienced before.
Yeah.
Has this always been how you've expressed your faith, or was there a moment where you said, you know what, I need to make some shifts?
No, I didn't grow up in a church or any of that stuff. And now I, spend a lot of time visiting. And when people ask me where I go to church, I always say ours. Because I just think all of them.
Yeah.
Some people are waving their arms and others kind of button down and wear capes and stuff. But whatever, it's our church and the people. I mean, me and you, like I remember that thing where Jesus said, if two or more are gathered, here we are.
Yeah.
He's present.
Yeah.
And so that idea that to just see these things as holy encounters that we're together, but you don't have to attach an entire liturgy to it. You could just have meaningful conversations. We were talking a little earlier about how a handful of sand will
talk
contain
about that. That's
400,000 grains of sand. A little less or a little more depending on the size of your hand, but about 400,000. I haven't had the time to count it up. But Wikipedia says it's true, so it must be,
it's got to
right?
be true.
Trust the internet. But I did the math, and if you live about 92 years and meet about 15 people a day, that would be what 400,000 looks like. And so what if you say, instead of just high-fiving people and a chest bump and an occasional hello, you actually said, I want to have 15 conversations like this. Or some version of this, to go a little bit deeper in your discussions, you'll actually lead a more purposeful, noteworthy life, because you're going to run out of things to talk about you. You'll actually be interested in other people. And what sense do they make of things? And so we were talking about how for Marie and I, we don't talk about like the logistics. She doesn't know I'm in South Carolina right now. She doesn't know I'll be in Palm Beach tomorrow.
Yeah.
But when people ask her, where's Bob?
Yeah.
She always says he's on his way home, because I always am.
Yeah.
And when I get home, we don't talk about geography.
Yeah.
We talk about life and meaning and the kids and what are we dreaming about. I don't want a roommate. I don't want a business manager. I want a wife.
Yeah.
And she doesn't need some husband that's constantly gone, but she realizes that this is a time where I'm going to go be with people, because 9 months and one day after I see my first sonogram, you'll never see me again.
Yeah.
I mean, you'll see me because we're buddies, but I'm out.
When the grandkids come,
That's it. Yeah. 10 years from now,
Yeah.
I'm going to be bouncing a 9.5-year-old on my knee.
oh, I love it.
But I'm one sonogram away. I'm just waiting.
Yeah. You ready for it?
Oh, yeah, totally. Under the Christmas tree, if there was, there could be a couple Lakers tickets or the Beatles' White Album, I'll be thinking it's a sonogram.
I love, Bob, when you talk about the 15 people that you meet in a day. It's everybody you meet is valuable. You're not trying to quantify, is it important to talk to this person? Are they, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like so often in our culture, people are trying to go, is this valuable? Can I get something out of this? Rather than just saying, every person, like you said, everyone, everywhere is valuable and is worth it. And you can learn from everybody.
Yeah. And then the more unique their life experience, the more you learn. You just go like, I never knew that. And that's the idea of being constantly curious. I got back from Canada. We spend 3 months each year at the nearest neighbor we've got is 10,000 square miles away. We're just like isolated.
10,000 square miles?
Yes. So we have like a glacier on our property. We make our own electricity. I built a hydroelectric plant 22 years ago. 100 kilowatts is free energy. It's the only place I'll let my wife turn on the lights and leave them on. We grow our own food. We catch salmon in the rivers. It's really just beautiful. Well, the other 9 months are just super busy. So finding this time, this cadence between rest and work, that's been another thing. Sometimes if it's just go, 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 you don't have a chance to discover really who you're becoming because you're just trying to get to the next gig in time to not be late.
Yeah.
And so finding for each of us a little bit of time to rest and to work and just a little bit of time to reflect. Yep. And then when you have conversations with people, to have no agenda. It's just, there's nothing on the other side of the equal sign, just the next humblest version of you.
Yep. And that it's yours is going to be different than everyone else's. Like the fact that yours is 3 months off and then 9 months of go, go, go. But even in that, every day you're reflecting on these different points and things.
Oh, yeah, constantly. And then have these kind of small, medium, and large. That would be a practical thing. Have a small, medium, and large version of everything you're thinking about, like a small version of loving your neighbor. Just go across and literally meet your neighbor.
Yeah.
And say, hi, I'm Billy, unless your name isn't Billy. Then don't do
Don't
that.
say
It would just be weird. But just that's small. A medium version, just say I don't know, go down and donate some blood.
Yeah.
That takes a little bit more and a needle's involved and all that. A large version could be to say, go to, across a city or across an ocean or find some people and just dive into their culture and just say, is there a way to help? And then don't come back thinking you're the representative of their culture because you spent a week in Ethiopia. Let me tell you how Ethiopia feels about this. You're like, dude, you're just a guest. You came, you had some food. You laughed, you hugged a couple people.
Right.
But that doesn't make you, it's not something to be ashamed of, but you don't want to overstate
Not
things.
have a hero mentality.
Yes. And I started, you should have seen the stupid website I had a long time ago. We got a school in Gulu, Uganda.
Yeah.
And I said changing a nation of Ugandans, like a whole generation.
Yeah.
That's what I said. And I'm like, there's 300 kids. There's 41 million people in Uganda.
Yeah.
I'm like, really? A whole generation? I had this other one that said, serving the poorest of the poor. It was like I was stepping over poor people and calling them posers. Yeah. I want to serve the poorest of the poor. And I had to ask myself, what is causing me to overstate what I'm actually doing? And what it was is just me looking for validation.
Wow.
That validation for the things I'm doing, as if just loving people wasn't enough, that you have to love somebody far away or in a more extravagant way, but just find somebody, carry a $2 bill around in your wallet. I got a dozen of them.
Yeah.
And just find some kid that's never seen one before, say, here you go. It'll probably cost you about $2.
Yeah.
But you'll blow their mind. Just like it, you don't have to do a magic trick, but just give it to them because I thought you'd like this. Or just have a widow's mite or a silver dollar or whatever, with those Pez and you just pull the head back and something comes out. And there's just something beautiful and whimsical about that. Just being on the ready always to give away love. What we seem to be ready to do is give away our opinions.
Yeah.
I would just Pez or better.
I do want to ask you, because one thing that comes up a lot with friends in the entertainment industry is even when they're making an effort to help others and to give to others, sometimes we're not very kind to ourselves. Sometimes we can be more generous and loving to others, but then super critical of ourselves or not caring for ourselves. And
yes,
what's something you've learned about?
Oh man, that it's kind of endemic, isn't it? Some of the best comedy comes out of the roots are often in self-loathing.
Absolutely, yeah.
That you realize, and you're pressing a button that's common for everybody. But I would say to just ask yourself, are these things true of me? You and I can both, our personality styles lends itself to be self-effacing.
Yeah.
We say I'm so silly. I did the stupidest thing today. And indeed, that may have been one of the top 10. But I want to speak true things over other people. And I want to start speaking true things over myself. Instead of saying I'm so dumb, actually, I'm not so dumb. I am many deficiencies. Dumb ain't one of them.
Yeah.
I could barely spell cat. But somehow I found this thing called spell check, and with enough words and enough time, do this. So you find a way to navigate that. So I've just not allowed myself to call myself dumb or play the part. And oftentimes we become a caricature of who we actually are.
Yeah.
And we're actually doing it for a beautiful motive. We're trying to put other people at ease.
Yeah.
But if putting people at ease costs you who you are, it ain't worth it.
Right.
Yeah, so there's another way to just say, I want to find my better angel in that. I want to talk to that better angel and to say, how could I say the same thing and still say true stuff?
I love freaking talking to you, man.
Well, this is Good. What do they say? That thing that's been so well said that, like one blind man showing the other blind man where the bread is. And I think what we do in our lives, we don't leave a trail of breadcrumbs. I want to leave them the size of loaves.
Yeah.
And the people will come and they'll hear some of the people that might be listening in the entertainment industry, and they'll walk away fed.
Yes.
But not fed just like laughs, but just your joy and your optimism and all that. And it can take a quarter of a twist off, and you play to your weaker angels, which is cynicism and all that. And people will become whoever we tell them they are.
Yes.
That's why we look for people to be pointing in positions of power towards the horizon and saying beautiful things about sunrises or sunsets. And then when they disappoint us, then we stop looking towards the horizon. And I think it's beautiful when we get together with people that we can point to something. I'm not just saying be really squishy and, sit in circles and make friendship bracelets. I'm saying like point towards beautiful things in your life and others. And with your humor, with your comedy, with your stories, point people towards a better version of themselves. And it's going to take some vulnerability. It's going to take some self-disclosure, and not about the awesome things that happen. Sometimes there'll be a bad thing. I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
I got malaria. I've been to Africa, I bet 40 times. I never take the malaria meds. And I got malaria last year.
Yeah.
Almost killed me. And I bounced back. 2 weeks in the ICU was $140,000.
Oh, my
We're trying to figure out if it's covered. But one of the things that happened after this, I have a shake in my left hand. My left hand shakes. It's weird. And so I don't know, for the time we've been together, I don't know if you've ever noticed that.
No.
But I'll put my hand on something. I'll put it in my pocket.
Yeah.
I'll hang on to something.
Yeah.
And it's because I don't want people to think I'm weak. I don't want people to think I'm somehow broken in some way or some feeble guy, because I'm not.
Yeah.
However, whatever got fragged in the wiring harness, I got this little funky twist, and I've got this bowl inside. I'm going to show you when we're all wrapped up. It's called Kimsooja. It's this Japanese art form where they take the brokenness in the bowl, and instead of hiding it with super glue, they like accent it with gold. And instead of seeing a broken bowl that was just like pieced together, kind of like in the most hidden way you can, they actually delight in saying this brokenness adds beauty to that. And I carried it with me because I wanted to talk to somebody about it, to just say in our brokenness is actually the beauty. So I would say, as entertainers, some self-disclosure from somebody that people think is, either funny or engaging or is leading a purposeful life, some disclosure to say, wow, like, man, you're broken too. But to just say, I haven't got it fixed yet. I still, where it came to? I was up at a thing in Washington, D.C. 2 days ago. Yeah. And there was this big gathering, and they said, everybody hold hands with the person next to you. Do you know why I didn't want to hold hands? Because they'd know my hand was shaking. Oh. And I didn't want them to think I was either nervous or defective. And I realized I just need to get past that. Yeah. And that we're all just a little bit broken, but be broken in beautiful ways. And you don't need to be self-effacing to emphasize your brokenness, because that's not beautiful. What's beautiful is to just realize it and talk about it, but then don't over-identify with it. Yes. If every time we talk about my stupid hand, that would be an example of over-identifying with it. Yeah. But if you say, these are among the things that you would know about me, you go like, that's actually a beautiful thing. And you'll draw people in because they'll think about their stuff. Yes. And I'll say, you want your humor, your presentation to really pop, go be authentic.
Yeah. And so often we feel like our mess is like so unique. But how many times have you shared a challenge and then someone else goes, oh, I thought I was the only one who dealt with that.
Yes. Yeah.
It helps bring us together.
People can identify with you, but we actually now have something in common.
Yes.
And there's something kind of beautiful that you've come up. I knew you were so generous to fight traffic and drive all the way across LA, but to go to this failure class we teach at Pepperdine Law School. And all we do every week, I just bring my friends, but I don't say, talk about what went awesome. Yeah. Talk about when it didn't. Yeah. Because I don't want these lawyers to graduate and think they're winners because they won or they're losers because they lost. Right. I want them to feel like the most authentic participants they could be. And so all I do is bring my friends who've screwed up, which is all of my friends.
Everybody. I remember you telling this story of your laptop getting stolen.
Yes.
And then now you're finishing the second book for the second time.
Yes, isn't that awesome? It's all the way done, visiting a friend. They break into the van, they steal the laptop, and it wasn't backed up. 65,000 words just
gone.
Evaporated. And you know what? They became 65,000 new words.
Yeah.
And this idea that we're just rough drafts of the men and women that we're actually going to turn into. And the next version of you and I is a lot better than all the earlier drafts.
Yeah.
And so to celebrate that wasn't my purpose. There's a beautiful poet from Asia, and he said, "The barn burned down. Now I can see the moon." That was just such a beautiful, I'm like, well said.
I love that perspective, because so often we hit these obstacles in life, or these roadblocks, or terrible things happen, and we feel like, well, that's it, it's over, and we don't realize that there's beautiful things on the other side of all the mess.
Yeah, it's where the music changes in any movie, and you know it's about to get good.
Yeah.
But you don't realize it in the moment. I don't calendar people's birthdays and all that, but I calendar the 1-year anniversary of somebody's biggest screw up. And I'll call my friends a year later, and they don't even know it's the anniversary, and I don't tell them, but I'll just pause with them. I'll say, "Look how far you've come."
Wow.
Because at the time,
it's just devastating.
Big public embarrassment. And then a year later, just so many other beautiful things, but it's hard to have that long view in the middle of what felt like a tremendous failure or letdown or this broken heart, whatever. But a year later, to have some good friends, it'll just loop back to you and just not tell you how far you have to go, but see, like, look how far you've come.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to do. And then we ought to do that for ourselves.
Yeah.
Instead of constantly telling ourselves how far we have to go,
right,
to just a moment of pause and just say, look how far I've come.
That's beautiful. Bob, I'm so grateful you would do this.
Hey, thanks for taking time on a rainy day.
No, what a beautiful
We're
moment
looking for alligators.
I know.
Just a couple friends talking. And maybe for somebody listening, if you haven't had a conversation with 15 people or 10 or 5, what if you just go have one conversation with somebody and don't talk about the weather and don't talk about sports? And not that those things are bad, but you're not going to find your purpose in them. But just start with some self-disclosures. Say, I want to tell you something you didn't know about me in high school. Let me tell you what a week in my life was like.
Yeah.
And with that will come some beautiful highs and some lows. Go find a picture of yourself when you were 14 years old. Bring it with you to that and say, let me tell you about this guy.
Yeah.
Let me tell you about this gal. Your friends want to know all about it. And that would be beautiful because that will remind you of not only who you were, but what I'm trying to get back to is the simplicity of that guy.
Yes.
Because it just strips away all of the titles and all
goodness.
the whatever. So just go if you think of something really practical like that, now we got a game.
Yeah.
And your friends will know more about you and they'll love you more, not less.
Oh, yeah. Whenever we go to the park with my girls are 9 and 12 now. And I am always the first one to get on the swing set because you go on the swing set and it takes you back to being a kid. And for a minute, you just go, the swing set doesn't have a law of diminishing returns. It's always great every time.
Yes. Yeah. Right. It's like In-N-Out Burger.
Yeah.
It's just right there.
In-N-Out Burger on the swing set. We should do that.
Dang. Now that's living.
Bob, how can people follow along and see what you're doing? I know you've got a new book coming out soon.
Oh, yeah. You can wait for a while. You can get it for a nickel in a used bookstore. That would be an example of being self-effacing.
Yeah.
Or I could just say, yes, Taylor, good friend of mine, I actually wrote another book.
Yeah.
And we'll just do what we did the last time. We'll go build some schools and all that. And the best way that people could kind of connect with me, I know this sounds like one of those just big things, but like really actually connect with yourself, find out more about who you are. And then if we're actually one, that'll be it. Because we've got a bunch of authentic people. Then we can be one. Because if we're all just acting parts that we're not, we're actually not going to ever get there. But man, I'm just so honored to spend a little time with you.
I'm so grateful that you would. I'm gonna turn this off, but we can keep talking, but I'm gonna turn this off here. If you enjoyed this episode of the About to Break podcast, I'd like to invite you to go check us out at abouttobreakpodcast.com. And if you really enjoyed it, you can help us produce these shows by going to abouttobreakpodcast.com, click on the Become a Producer button, and for as little as $1 a month, you can help us produce shows just like this one. Check it out. There's some cool rewards. I'd love to send you some fun stuff for being part of the team. And from the bottom of my heart, thank you guys so much for allowing me to do this. It is a dream.